the decisions that are made about you, all of the good ones, whether you get engaged or whether you get promoted, whether you get elected, whatever it is, are about conversations based on the information that you've left behind, right? And so how can you ensure that the information that is left behind is consistent with what you want? I don't care what you want, but your personal brand should match what you want.
Now, today's guest, Cheldin Barlatt Rumer, is a personal branding expert. In fact, she wrote the book on it. It's called Scream Your Dream, 66 Lessons to Build Your Personal Brand. And she understands more than anyone else that especially in this social media crazy world, the who that you are broadcasting to others, whether it's personally, professionally, is more powerful, more prevalent than ever before. So today we're going to do a little introspection with a leading personal brand expert, a broadcast producer, a TV host, a university professor. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So we'll stop there. But welcome to the show. She's an all-around energy fountain. Those are words that I'm using to describe you.
I love that. I think that's new.
So
I'll
true.
take that. I will be an energy fountain. Drink it up.
Welcome to the show. It's great to
Welcome,
see you. Great to have
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. I'm so excited. This is so much fun. I love coming here.
I'm so stoked to have you here today. But first,
Yes.
Mark's list of accolades isn't enough. I gotta read some more. Okay. Part of your personal brand is that you are the CEO and executive producer of This Is It Network, which is a global female and minority-owned digital streaming platform.
It is.
So can we start with that? Can you tell us how that all happened?
I'm a marketing gal. I loved marketing and PR. I really started out in the hospitality industry, marketing PR for restaurants, bars, that type of thing. And then I fell in love and really wanted to have my own agency. That was like the dream, right? The corner office, the exposed brick, and all the things. But in the infancy of what was IG Creative, we did a lot of small business marketing. So it was all of the small businesses that you would think of, primarily women. So it was the bracelet lady and the cupcake lady. And it was all these wonderful women that were really developing their brands in their basement.
Was it always women?
It just happened to be.
Happened
It
to be?
just happened to be the majority of women.
Sweet.
Not that brave men don't tolerate my madness, but at the end of the day, it just happened to be a big laundry list of women that we were working with. And I'm an extrovert, if you can't feel it. And I've never been shy, and I've never had a hard time telling stories. But for whatever reason, as we were getting these women ready for PR opportunities, for marketing opportunities, to get them to part their lips and tell me why somebody should buy their cookie, why somebody should buy their bracelet, they just could not literally find their voice. And I had studied media and communication at LaSalle University, and I always carried around a camera before documenting things.
I didn't know that.
Always.
Camera girl.
Right, just always, just capturing pictures or small little videos. And so we were in our conference room. I pulled the camera out of my desk, and I started interviewing my clients just as practice. Right? I'm going to interview you as practice. We're going to try to set this up. We're going to try to get you more comfortable. I lit up. I found my voice.
Yeah.
They found theirs.
Like,
and
You were
this
home.
is it.
This is it.
Literally, I said it out loud. I said, I want to do nothing else. All I want to do is tell stories.
That's amazing.
And then This Is It Network kind of stemmed from that. Just wanting others to find their voice and allowing myself to be a vehicle to make that happen.
What was IG Creative? What did that stand for?
So Innovative Grassroots and Creative Services.
That's
So it was
cool.
really about small
Great name.
budgets. It was really about the cupcake lady. It was she wants to be on billboards but has no money, and that's great. Figuring out what those budgets are, but if you can't tell your story, that was the part that was missing. The This Is It Network part was the part that was missing. The storytelling part. We could do their graphics and their JPEGs. We could even get you on the news, but if you're not willing to tell your story, then that's the missing.
I imagine
link.
that happens a lot where people
The majority of people.
Yeah.
The majority. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur. It's just, even if you want to get promoted.
Because people don't like talking about themselves, really, especially in front of a camera.
No. Right. And it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, very few people introduce themselves to strangers in the produce section
Right.
like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm making friends over avocados.
that person.
Right? That's not normal. Right? They just want to do their own thing. And there was a notion of like, your work will speak for itself. But now in this crowded space and in the height of social and the height of all of these messages, we have to figure out how to differentiate ourselves. We had to figure out how to be our own advocate. And we just need the tools in order to make it happen.
I want to ask you something about building a personal brand for the next generation, the digital natives that grew up comparing themselves to the countless personal brands that are on TikTok, on Instagram. I'll say
Yeah.
let's just go straight to young girls.
Yeah.
Because that brand,
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have a daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the brand that is put forth by
For sure.
many, not
Yeah.
every,
Yeah, no, for sure.
influencers,
For sure.
is not the brand I would want my daughter to put forth. And I always say to myself, what are these people thinking?
Yeah.
Now, the younger ones, I
Yeah.
get it. They're immature. They don't fully
No, but
understand.
still.
But there are grown-ups
100%.
that are putting forth
Yeah.
a brand that I say
Yeah.
to myself, what are they thinking this
Yeah.
is going to do for them?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of clickbait. Right.
Is it a link to their own
Again,
brands?
they're
Maybe
very
that.
much addicted
Maybe that.
to the followers, right? And they'll push and push and push and push the endorphins that come from getting a lot of people to follow you. A lot of people will go to the ends of the earth and say things that are off brand in
Right.
order to keep that adrenaline
Yeah.
going. My daughter's 13, right?
Well, there you
So
go.
I'm in this space.
You're in it.
Very much. What I teach her and what I teach those that follow and were willing to pay attention is that social media is a window and not a mirror. It is a window to everything that's going on in the world. It is not a reflection of you, right? And one of the things that I loved when I was younger, now to age myself, I used to go to Barnes and Noble and I used to pull all of these large fashion magazines and I used to sit and just thumb through them. I used to just $3,000 coats, $7,000 bags, right? Like Kobe beef, meals for like $6,000 a bite, whatever ridiculousness.
$6,000 a bite.
Nonsense, right? And never ever felt that I was less than because of it.
Wow.
I just consumed it. And I knew its position in its space. Because now these influencers are in pajamas that I can equally buy, I feel like their life is my mirror and not a window. And we need to be able to teach young people in general. Think about it. We were just gifted these platforms. There was no manual, right? I'm old enough to remember typing class and computers. We were taught how to use the tool. There's no rules to this. There's no imprint. There's no class. There's no digital literacy, which I'd love to see in these schools, to talk to them about the fact that Snapchat is forever, even though it tends to disappear, that whatever you put out into the world is literally a breadcrumb into who it is that you are. And there's consequences for what it is you put out into the world. Yeah. And so we're not teaching people how to use the tool that's defining them. How can we do that, right? And personal branding is just a piece of it. And so looking at it for what it is, I look at a movie and I don't think that I can fly. Because I understand that, right? I understand that it's an ad. I understand that it's fiction.
Yeah.
And we haven't yet to determine that yet. Yeah. We haven't yet to teach that yet. And so I like to be a part of that in saying that she's selling makeup. She's an ad. You're not going to, and we never, there was a sense of, even as seen on TV, that if I buy it, it might not work that well. You know what I mean? It worked that well on there, but I can imagine that he's not sticking to that beam in the construction ad, right? Like
with the
Gorilla
Gorilla
Glue, right? Do you remember
Gorilla
that?
Glue.
That's crazy.
Like
The
we
hard
knew,
hat.
right? We knew that they were trying to
Yeah, we could
overextend
see.
a point.
Yeah, we could see through
and
that.
we were okay with that.
But not with social media.
But now it's an assumption that it's a mirror, and that's not true.
That's
and
a good point.
And we need to
Because
be
you
able
brought
to
up
teach
Michael
that.
Jackson, Michael Jordan. Like, I can't be them. I'm not them.
Right.
So whatever they're doing is
never-
them.
Yeah.
But if you're a 13-year-old girl and you go on and you see 70 13-year-old girls, you completely identify with them, and you say, well, what's my brand?
Right.
If it's that, well, there's 70 other people that
Right.
that are that.
Right.
So then that's not me.
That's
Who
not
am
you.
I?
Right.
It's got to be really hard
Or I
for the
want to
younger
be just
generation.
like that.
Or I want to be,
have to be
which
just
maybe
like
is
her.
worse. Right.
Yeah.
That's probably where they go.
100%.
I'm just going to be that because that's what everybody is.
Yeah, but
Right.
she's got a Versace bag.
Right. How
Right.
she-
So I need
exactly.
a Versace bag.
And now you feel
all
worse
the
about
things.
yourself.
Yeah.
because you
All
don't
the
have
things,
one.
right? But that's new.
Yeah.
Because we used to just see them have a Versace bag. We never felt
Right.
like
I
I'm
can
not
have
going to
that.
leave my house because I can't have a Mercedes.
Right.
It was never that situation.
But that's the way it
But
is
now it's this crippling
Yeah.
scenario because we never jumped in to tell the difference between the two.
I love that line of window versus mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
window
I
versus
love that.
mirror.
And I think that if that starts at a very young age, that this is entertainment. That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
what it is. We even have a level of understanding that for reality TV. We're like, that's not what they're doing every day. Right?
No, right. We
come,
know in
we
a
come
way.
to understand it.
It has to be
But
a little produced. Like,
Right.
they don't wear that to work.
influencers are produced. They're giving you
Yeah.
the best of who it is that they
Yeah.
are. And we're finding the influencers who have overextended themselves. Some real dangerous things are happening. So, it's a window. It's not a mirror.
I love how you just said personal branding is about what other people say in your absence.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
They say
It
in your
also reminds me of, there's a quote, and I totally forget what it is, but I know it has to do with be the person who defends the woman who's not in the room.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? Is that
for
the
sure.
quote?
Yeah, it's along those lines. Fix her crown, all the things.
Fix her crown. So how? Sorry, Mark, but you could probably help with this too.
Yeah.
How can you and I, as people who talk to people,
it.
like how can we make more women be the fix her crown, be the woman who speaks the nice words about us in the room? Because I hear so much of the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. And that's based on fear.
And you work with so many women.
Yeah,
like you have an
sure.
answer for this. I know you
do. No, and I think that it comes from a scarcity mentality, right? I'm also a woman of color, right? So I'm a woman of color. I hit a lot of check marks. And oftentimes I'm the only one in the room, right? And so there has to come to a point where you feel comfortable being in that space. And that's hard if that's all that you know. I think that the majority of things, good things that have happened to me in my life have happened because of conversations I was not directly involved in. I'm sitting here because of a conversation that I wasn't directly involved in, right? The decisions that are made about you, all of the good ones, whether you get engaged or whether you get promoted, whether you get elected, whatever it is, are about conversations based on the information that you've left behind, right? And so how can you ensure that the information that is left behind is consistent with what you want? I don't care what you want, but your personal brand should match what you want, right? I always use the example of like Cardi B, right? And who's a hip hop artist. She is unapologetic about her life, about being a professional dancer, about all the things. She, at least to my knowledge, has not applied to work at Lockheed Martin, right? Her personal brand is consistent with what she wants. If you, at home, a young person, wants to work at Lockheed Martin, your personal brand may not be ideally looking like Cardi B's, right?
Fair.
It has to match what you want. Right. You can be a hip hop artist, you can be a musician, you can be anything that you want. I'm not here to restrict you. I'm just here to say it should match and align with what you want. So if you are doing that, then I have a need. And I say to you, I'm looking for a hip hop artist to open this scenario. You're like, you should call my friend Cardi. Right? Are you top of mind? And here's a better thing. Do the people around you know enough about you to talk about you in your absence? Right. Do they know what you want? Do they know who you are?
So what you're kind of saying is, if someone's not speaking of you kindly, in another room while you're not there, then that's probably you.
Maybe, or it's the wrong room.
Or it's the wrong room. Or it's someone,
which is a lot of
someone who you can't maybe change.
Yeah,
like,
and that's a lot of that too.
Fear and scarcity.
Right.
And,
you know what I mean? Even as to beat that analogy to death, Cardi's not for every hip hop artist. It's not for every hip hop audience. Right? And doesn't mean she's not talented. She's just not for that room.
Right.
And so ultimately, we determine, I say this all the time. Oftentimes people are doing the right things, but in the wrong rooms.
Oh my God.
You're just full of these bombs.
I love that.
These so I mean, it's interesting because I deal a lot with digital marketing agencies, and a lot of them talk about the importance of storytelling and telling your brand story. And I found that so many of them tell the story from their perspective, what they want to say, versus what the customer needs to hear to make them value the brand.
Right.
Versus, hey, we were founded in 1910, and hey, we have 35 different brands of cupcakes or whatever. So it's an interesting mind shift, which screams the same message of personal branding.
For sure.
You may be putting one thing out, and it's being completely received
100%.
in a different way. So
100%.
again, like in the intro, like your words that you use, like I would use, here's the words I would use for you.
Oh, I love it.
I would use just off the cuff. Here we go. So warm, friendly. Right? There's that softer side, very inviting, very collaborative, all that. Yeah. And then driven.
Oh, that's a good one.
Type A. So often that the person next to you, like, you're great. And once they get on camera, it doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate.
Right? And I'm sure you've run into that.
Oh, 100%. And I think that it's also, we want to be seen in a certain type of way, but are we honest enough to really look at how we are being seen, right? Are you able to look at a piece of content that you're in or a video that you're, and what breadcrumbs did you leave behind? Does that tell your full story? Were you brave enough to be honest and authentic?
Right.
Did you lead them in the direction that you want them to go?
Vulnerable.
Right?
It's vulnerable.
And it's intentional in a lot of different ways without it feeling constructed. And I think that, your personal brand evolves also, right? Who you were isn't who you are. Right. And so how can you continuously tell that story in the most authentic voice possible? So absolutely. So it's three things. It's one, who you are, what you want, and why you deserve it. So who are you? So the differentiating factor could be as simple as some life facts. So life facts, according to me, are things that are undisputed. All right. So I'm an immigrant from Sierra Leone, West Africa. That's a life fact. I'm a former, all caps, former Division I athlete. Life caps, right? That is a life fact, right?
Yeah.
I'm a mother of 2. Life fact. We meet and we're like, tell me about yourself. If we are both mothers, we're automatically connected.
Right.
If we both are Philadelphia Eagles fans, we're automatically connected. Who you are simply is based on the basis of those life facts and then paired with your strengths. So I'm an extrovert that's a mother of 2. So I'm gravitating towards maybe introverts that have no children. I can find a way to talk to them, or parents that are also equally extroverts. So it's finding those commonalities,
Got it.
but you have to recognize them first going into it.
Right.
It used to be called your elevator pitch, right? But now I call it your unique equation. So also, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of this situation? Is it a new lead or is it a job? So you come and you present yourself accordingly. If you want a new job, you present yourself as if you want to be employed, right? And so you pair that with your life facts to figure it out. And then why do you deserve it? The average person doesn't have their own Wikipedia page, but you should have at least 3 things in which you've accomplished that makes you worthy of whatever it is that you want. So it's that kind of riddle that I call your unique equation, kind of have in your back pocket, whether you go to your cousin's wedding or whether you're going to a networking event, you have those things. This is why I'm worthy. This is who I am. And this is what I want.
What was it? Who you are,
What
you want,
and why you deserve it.
and why you deserve it.
And why you deserve it.
That's such a simple formula for creating a brand statement for yourself.
And it just allows for you to remember, and that can evolve because what you want at 21 isn't what I want at 46. And so you just replace the information. And I wasn't a mother of 2 when I was 21, right? And now at 46 I am. So you bring in life facts that allow for you to be relatable in those given situations, in those given scenarios.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was geeking out. Go ahead.
No. I love that. I love that. And I want to talk about, so the personal branding part of you is one thing.
Yeah.
How does that translate then into the network that you're creating?
Yeah. So
This Is It TV,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Because it all stemmed in that personal brand,
Right.
right? It stemmed from the cupcake lady that couldn't talk. And so when I started interviewing all of these women, it was that same scenario. And that's where Scream Your Dream came from. It was, I'm nervous. I've never had the I've never been interviewed before. Just sit down, right? Somebody on the other side of this couch, like yourselves, wants to hear from you, right? And so what is that young person going to say? What is that business owner going to say? What is that seasoned executive going to say? How are they going to talk about themselves? And so it's wonderful to have a network, but if people aren't using it to elevate their voice, if there isn't a tool, right? So the network can be just a bunch of people talking about gossiptainment, and that's beautiful, and we all binge it.
Gossiptainment?
Right. Like what's going on with the housewives or what's going on with all great content.
Yes.
But where This Is It Network differentiates is that it's a real place where real people, primarily women, tell real stories that elevate them, right? And in order to do that, you need to know about yourself. And the majority of people don't have orientations about themselves. They don't know. They're asked to promote it, but they don't know themselves. They don't know the product. Right. And so if you know your product, you're better able to sell it or promote it. Right. Sure. And so the reason why you get nervous when you're in an interview is because you don't know the topic.
Right.
You don't know the product that you're selling.
Right.
You don't know that you're supposed to talk about grandmother's recipe or the uniqueness of your logo or where people can find you. You haven't studied it. But once you've studied it, you can pass the test. So for me, it's really about teaching people about themselves so they're readily able to do more opportunity or participate in more opportunities like This Is It Network. Right. So we're the vehicle that holds the stories, but we added Scream Your Dream and the technique and what can be found in the book to teach you how to do that. I can't tell you how many people are on podcasts or on interviews.
And they never share it. They never share it. I know.
They don't even share it.
I know.
They don't even share the interview. They're not even proud of that. Right? They're not.
Please.
Right? And they're like, oh, I kind of did a thing. I hate the word kind of.
I know.
But
people don't want to
It's a humility thing.
brag, I think,
for
sometimes.
sure. And that's like the gross word. Like, I don't want to brag. I don't want to be conceited. It's just sharing.
And you have said that you love talk shows, right?
Yeah,
I think we have that in common.
I'm
like,
obsessed.
I love talk. Do you love talk shows?
I like this one. I don't watch. I don't watch.
Right,
I don't
and
watch.
I'm
I
old
love
school
them.
talk shows. I'm talking Donahue,
Yeah.
and Sally Jesse.
I watched
and,
Donahue a lot when I was a
right?
kid. Yeah.
Oprah.
And Oprah,
Come on.
legend. And
Yeah.
think about, and it's that educational entertainment piece that we're really missing. And I really equate it in some kind of weird, I guess, psychological way. The format of talk shows was there's a problem. Real people come and they sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Commercial break.
Yeah.
There's a doctor with a book, right?
Yeah.
and holds up the book, right? And the lower third, it comes up. And then after the break, the doctor talks to the people that are from Wyoming that are sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the comment section? Right? Donahue's comment section, he used to run up and down the stairs
Yeah.
All
and
this
ask
stuff.
the question. That's our new comment section,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where you were able to ask the question that somebody that was sitting in their house in Detroit was thinking the whole entire time they were watching the doctor
Yes.
and the guest. And what I think happened at that point, and why This Is It Network also is equally so important to me, is that there was this opportunity for you to be completely ignorant on a topic in your house. And at the end of that 28 minutes, at the end of that 46 minutes, you knew more.
Right.
Right? You weren't ridiculed for not knowing because there was nobody watching you not know.
Right.
Right? And the questions that you wanted to ask were produced by this. So there was a science to it. That genre of television, that educational entertainment, got replaced by self-segregated, antagonistical reality television. I think that the last day of the Oprah Winfrey Show totally coincided with the birth of the stereotypical Karen, right? So the day the lights went out on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Karen was born.
Really?
Because there was no place for her to put her angst, her confusion, any of those things.
Interesting.
So now, instead of her running to the dinner table, quote unquote, stereotypically, and being like, using big words, and her spouse being like, you're watching too much Oprah, right? As an answer to that question, that doesn't live anywhere anymore. You can't figure out anything about foster care or human trafficking or homosexuality, any of those things that were introduced to us in the comfort of our own home.
Right.
There's no place for that anymore.
Where did personal branding come in to
Yeah.
play? Like, is it something relatively new, or
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think it's a new thing. I think using it as a machine, I think, is a little bit new.
Right.
But Dolly Parton has a personal brand.
Right.
Right? Michael Jackson has a personal brand. There were few personal brands.
Right.
But they were household names. Michael Jordan has a personal brand. Like all of those big, larger names, from 80s, 90s, the early 2000s, there were personal brands
Like
there.
celebrities.
Yeah, celebrities. And they were run by machines. The production houses and the record labels, they built them. Now you have the ability to utilize those same skill sets to build your own.
Kinda crazy.
Right? It's so crazy. Right? And that's what I think larger industries are finding, that people have the ability to create their own brand and ultimately making more out of selling music out of the back of their truck than what larger labels were able to kind of put together. Hence the importance of influencer marketing and content creators and how brands are attempting to work with them in that kind of way.
But I want to also talk about this, which is Scream Your Dream. 66 lessons to build your personal brand.
Yeah.
I got some questions.
Okay, feel free.
So how was the idea for this book born? Why 66?
Right, 66.
Unless it was just like you were...
No, it's really about, I broke it down. Everything is always broken down into threes for me. And then it just
my
ended.
mom does that.
Yeah, so I don't know what it means. People that know horoscopes can tell I'm a Virgo. I don't know what that means, but I am.
Okay.
I was born on September 3rd. So threes are always my thing. So there's 22. The first chapter was get started, or the sections get started, get organized, get active. I think that the hardest part in anything is getting started. So I just wanted to give people the ammunition to do that. Once you're started, now what the heck do I do? So you got to get organized. And oftentimes people stop there, right? That's the work. They're like, okay, I got started. And I got organized. I'm like, now get to work, right? Like now you have to get to work. So the get active part of it. And the first section of get started ended up being 22 lessons. And so I was like, everything has to be 20.
It has to be 20.
So it has to be 66. And so, and then researching, empowerment, what 66 meant, it was empowerment and lessons and all that beautiful stuff. And so it just really all kind of came together in that way, but really wanted it to be structured, because oftentimes I'm not so structured. And you need that when you're building anything.
Yeah.
And so when people come to me about their personal brand, it's really out of like a lack of focus, right? I know all of these things. You know who you are, what you want, and why you deserve it. You haven't memorized it. You haven't practiced it. You don't know the importance of it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what it is that I teach are just revelations, like of what you already have. I'm a strong believer in not faking it till you make it. I don't think that we have to pretend to be someone else. I think that if you are an entry level at something, then those that need you will meet you there. If you are a scholar at something, they'll meet you there. There's no need to pretend to be a manager when you've managed nothing. There's no need to pretend to be a director when you've directed no one, right? And we have a lot of young people pretending those things. And what happens when we find out that they're none of those things?
We're not ready, right?
Then they're lying.
Right.
When they could have just been a coordinator or just been an assistant and gotten a job there.
It's funny. It's a bit of an unpopular opinion.
It's a very unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very much like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But for why? You're going to get got.
Just
and
be
then
who you are.
You're going to get
You're
got.
gonna
Right.
get
And
got.
that's worse, right? Because then
Right.
you just lied and wasted, especially in such a crowded, this goes to the executives and the people who are looking for employment. You're pretending on that resume. We know what the stacks of resumes look like, right? So you are pretending to be a manager when you've managed nothing, when I should have been interviewing managers this whole time. Now you have me in this space where I don't have the sweat equity to sit with people who are not qualified.
Right.
And now when you would have been perfect for the coordinator position, you're just a liar.
Right.
Just be a coordinator. Sit in that.
See, but what's interesting is they're trying to put forth a brand that is not them.
That's not them.
Right. And I've said this to my class. I know
Yeah.
you're a professor as well. I've said, like, your generation, you seniors and coming out now in college,
Yeah.
your resume is not as important as your brand.
100%.
Now, for one, their resume is not that big.
Right.
But even somebody in his 50s have a long resume.
Yes.
My brand is almost equally as important as my resume.
So important. I believe that your resume is simply a tool that you use to support your brand.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. It's like an ad. It's like an invitation to the party, not the party itself. I don't care what people want to be.
Right.
Your personal brand should just match what you want.
Now, this kind of ties to influencers.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So I kind of wanted to ask you,
sure.
we've had conversations about influencers, and I don't know if they're called influencers or creators now.
Content creators,
creators.
influencers. Yeah.
You rolled your eyes.
Yeah.
What-
It's
what is
loose?
What's
It's loose.
the difference between, or the nuances
Yeah.
between personal branding and being an influencer? And
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Well, personal branding is a tool that influencers use in order to get closer to what they want. Just because, and this is like my PSA, just because you have a big following doesn't mean you have influence.
Amen.
Right? Just because you have 1 million followers doesn't mean you can encourage them to do anything but laugh. Right? And that doesn't mean that there's transactions that go along with it. Right? And so there is this surgence of nano influencers, people who have less than 5,000, less than 10,000 followers, who are in essence selling out products, right? Because if you can move 500 people versus somebody with 5 million followers that can't move anyone.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about figuring it out. But how do you create storytelling about yourself to build loyalty, to be able to move people to do things? My definition of personal branding is what people say and think about you in your absence. Right? How
That's
they
good.
really, really talk about you.
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think it was Instagram did a study roughly this time last year. I'm almost positive it was Instagram. They looked at what the influencers valued
Yeah.
versus what the brands who hired the influencers valued. And if influencers valued consumption, the vanity metrics, followers, likes, comments, all that, the lowest thing on their list was ROI for the brand.
For sure.
And the number one thing, of course,
For sure.
was the ROI for the vendor.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do
So
we
it
tell
completely
agencies now?
supports it.
Because I know so many, when I was at the production company that I
Yeah.
owned, so many people would come to us and say, okay, we want to work with influencers.
Yeah.
Can you find us influencers? We want to put influencers in our,
Yeah.
you know, in our commercials or whatever. I'm sure you've heard that. With what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
What do we tell them?
I think you need to make a commitment to the billboard. You cannot just have the billboard up for a month. You need to have an annual 5-year relationship with this person. You have to have a relationship with this person.
With the influencer.
Yeah,
So the agency
it
has
can't
to.
just be one post and think you're going to revolutionize. Even if the person has 10 million followers, seeing them chew the gum one time is not going to be it.
Right.
Having it be their gum for the next 2 years is it. I'd rather you amortize the budget, give them less every month, less every post, and give them an annual contract where they are your person. Think about how athletes were endorsed. It has to be that way. It has to be this they only wear that shoe. They only drive that car. Because what's happening is they do the post, and people call it this too, post and pray. You post, you pray that there's some kind of reaction or bounce back, right? You're like, oh my gosh, please work. People are buying more product for the one time the one influencer says something. It's insane. It has to be that billboard where you see it over and over and
That's
over
good.
again. And it should be products in the influencer space that they naturally like.
Right.
They should only be calling clothes that are in their closet, food that's in their cabinet. Those are the people, not things that they're forced to drink down, forced to get down, forced to like grin and bear, right? Everybody's
what they're
wearing
doing.
enough stuff, right? You're driving a car, you're wearing enough clothes, you're eating enough food. Go to your cabinet. That's who you should be calling. things you're already drinking.
So you're saying influencers call those
For sure.
So with sponsors, and sponsors need to look for influencers who
100%
align with
that
them.
are already wearing it.
Yeah.
Like already wearing it, already seeing it. If you can watch an influencer's content,
Yeah.
you're like, they're already
You
wearing my
know.
sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Let me call them.
Right.
Right? It's not going to be a stretch. So when the person that I'm comfortable wearing that hoodie on a regular basis, the community that they built wearing hoodies on a regular basis, if they switch it to another logo, they're not going to be like, that feels weird. They're going to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I love that hoodie too. And
Yeah.
it becomes more of a conversation that's consistent with the brand.
Do you have a quote you live by?
Yeah, is there a mantra?
Oh,
you
yeah.
go by, or-
Just because I carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy.
That's another great one.
That's mine.
Why is
love
that
that.
yours? Tell me about it.
Especially within the last 10 years of things, like it's just, being a personality or to be a leader of a business, you have to put it on, right? All of the time. And people have an assumption that because you're on all
Yeah,
of the time,
yeah.
that nothing bothers you,
Right.
that you're fine, that you're okay. I've had people say, you're positive all the time. How are you positive all the time?
Yeah.
I'm positive all the time because I'm not positive all the time.
Right. I'm positive
Right?
for you.
It's a practice.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
me finding the words is a practice. And me being positive is the way that I get out of being negative. Right? It's the way that I come and present myself in that way. And so I utilize positivity as a tool to be able to present myself in that way.
What do you do on the heavy days? Like, how do you get, like, I think it's so good for our audience too. They see you
Yeah.
and you are who you are
Yeah.
and so positive and
Yeah.
happy. But I know,
Yeah.
we both know that there's been times,
Yeah,
right? When you've
for
like
sure.
pulled the covers back up.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for
you've
sure.
been like, I'm not going anywhere today.
I swear.
So like, how do you deal with that? How do you get out of bed? How do you get out of the trenches to come
Yeah.
back to this persona?
I live off mantras and quotes. I'm again from West Africa. My mom is this amazing. She just turned 79, and so she's just amazing West African. I consider her a scholar, retired elementary school principal, just amazing. And she used to leave quotes throughout the house, in our house, like just everywhere. Right. And an ungrateful college kid. I come home. I mean, since I was younger, but like an ungrateful college kid, it's like I come in home late night and I see it on the mirror and I'm like, oh, I'm like, Mom, what is with these quotes? Like finally, after decades, I'm just, what is the deal? And she's like, it says to me, she's like, one day, I don't know if it'll happen, but one day, young lady, you won't have the words. And these words are for when you don't have them. And I was like, lost my voice completely. Okay, mommy, but just reverted, right? And so that's what I do. So even on our social media, we have quotes everywhere.
I noticed that.
It's not for everyone, but when you've lost the words, sometimes you need the words of others. And so that my mom taught me that. She sends us quotes. The only thing she texts every day, she sends us quotes every day.
I love
every morning
her.
by 6 a.m.
I'm going to interview
we
her.
get them. She's amazing.
Oh my God.
And so
when you're down.
and when I'm down, I find the words of others.
Wow.
Yeah, I find other quotes and I live on mantras.
I don't know why this is making me
all the
emotional.
sense.
Like I feel
But
like
it's
I'm
the
going to
truth.
tear up. It's
Because we're lost most of the time.
yeah.
You're lost most of the time.
That's
and
the
no one
case.
wants to say it and no one wants to admit it. But you're lost most of the time. You're upset most of the time. Right? We win very few times. But when we win big, right? And so knowing that, how do I create content? How do I create tools to help people get out of that space? I know you don't want to get started. I know you're not organized. I know you don't want to stay active. And so that's what the book is about. I know that you're feeling bad today. Somebody is. And so we put a quote out to be able to talk to those people.
So how else can we help you? I just showed the
I
book
love
again, and
it.
we'll put it up
I love
in the
it.
video.
I love it.
And
This is
it's
so good. You guys are so
fabulous
fun.
book. But
Thank
like,
you.
what else can we do? Because you have so much stuff going on.
Oh,
Like,
I love.
How can I support?
So educational entertainment is our bag. So we just love it. And we do that through the content that we produce on This Is It Network. The education that I provide, whether it's, on stages or one-on-one or within groups, we're doing a lot with employee resource groups. So we're doing a lot with going into businesses and helping their employees scream their dream, which has been really super fun. And then we have a lot of events. We love to throw events. So please come out to our events. But ultimately, it's really just following us and tapping into us when you need us, right? When you need to find the words, right? Or when you need to figure out how to position who you are in the moment, when you're prepared and ready to stop faking it. Yeah, and just really want to start telling your story. So finding us at thisisItTV.com or following us everywhere you find at thisisItTV is support enough, right? And, coming out to our events and reaching out if you need something. We're always looking for content contributors and people to, be thought leaders and experts to help, share, their expertise with our remarkable women.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming.
Oh, it's so much
want
fun.
this to end.
Well, now you're
Great
stuck with me.
conversation.
So
I
this
don't
is going
want
to
this
be
to
fun.
end.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is great.
this is good. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll trade
Yes,
back and forth because
yes.
the next thing you know, both of you have to be on This Is It now.
I look forward to it.
Yeah,
I love
for
this
sure.
conversation.
Oh, this
Can't
is
wait
so
to meet
fun.
again.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
all.
much,
Thank you for
Sheldon.
watching. We will see you
Thank
soon.
you.